Transaction Desk is as we all know, it's going to be the new quote-unquote Zipforms. Now, thank God this transition, the paperwork transitions don't happen very often. Thank God, you know, because this is something that's not coming easy to most people because we've been so used to Zipforms. I mean, it's been our lifeline for as long as I've been an agent, so 12 years as far as I know, probably even longer. So when it comes to Transaction Desk, it's wonderful on like 10 different things. It's really different on these other things, which aren't necessarily good or bad. It's just we're having to retrain ourselves on what these are and why. Like, for example, just this first thing right off the bat is their documents. Exactly, you have documents and you have forms. Okay, is there any real reason why they have documents and forms separated? They're all documents and we're all going to use them the same way, but in their world, your forms are the actual forms. They're from the AAR. These are the real ones. The documents are the other things that we upload and can have there, right?
Full disclosure.
Anything from your brokerage, exactly.
Airflow space.
Exactly.
All those extras.
Now, is there any rhyme or reason to these? No. I mean, but it's just something that we have to get used to, that they keep them separate. That's it, right? So, right off the bat, create a transaction and all that stuff is very simple. It's right there on the screen. Create a transaction, start signing, email documents, document upload. But we're going to take a step back and create the template that we're going to be using. So have you actually used your buyer template yet?
Yes, and I have my documents uploaded.
Sweet. Okay. So we're going to kind of go through that, and we're going to walk through the template so we can create that, and hopefully we'll have enough time to actually go all the way through a transaction through eSign and actually use it before we take off tonight.
That would be lovely.
Okay? That's the goal.
Can you keep up, Mark?
That's the goal.
We'll see.
I'm sorry, what was your name, dear?
Marilyn. How did you forget that?
Her name's Marilyn too?
We got Maryland squared, yes.
Alright, I love it!
Okay, so when you first logged in, you logged in via Transaction Desk specifically, right? So are you looking at the same screen?
I'm looking at that right now.
Perfect. Okay.
Did you go into AAR?
I went through Armless, and then there's a tab up at the bottom that says Transaction.
He just did his
He went
first.
that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Is that the best way to go through or not?
it depends on what you're going to want to do, right?
When we're practicing, yes.
Where to begin with, we're going to try it the first way in Transaction Desk. Yes. Okay. Then we're going to, if we have time, use the MLS version, which takes you directly from the listing you're talking about or going to use, and it'll take you straight through. Okay. That's the other login for some stupid reason. I don't know why.
Part 2 is migrating the information from MLS and then editing it.
Well, yeah. Okay. So here we go. On the home screen, right there on the bottom-ish left, you have all the bolts right there, and that's the setup. Okay. This is the behind the scenes as far as we're concerned, where we set up everything we agents are talking about. So you have like your preferences, all of your notifications.
This is the settings, the 3 little wheels.
Okay.
And your preferences are where you're going to upload your information, for example, right? Like your office information, your user information, your email signature, your branding, any of that stuff you're going to want to, all the fluffy bells and whistles to help you out, right? Okay. Now, when the program settings, I'm just going to quickly go through these. The program settings, this is really, I don't know if you guys have access to all of these things, but I mean, there is so much crap behind the scenes in this program, it's insane. I haven't even touched the surface on so many of these things. It's just, this program is just ginormous.
I've gone to 4 of these classes already, Josh, and I'm still trying to get the master.
How did you get to program settings?
Well, some of these might be the DB aspect. Okay. I don't know if you have all the tabs I do per se. Some of these, this is where they haven't offered like the broker training to us per se. Okay. So most of these we're just going to skip right over because they're just, you know, when you have time, go through them and go click by click by click, and just kind of investigate, but have fun. Now, what we are worried about is right there, transaction templates. Okay.
So I don't see transaction templates. So I'm on preferences.
They're down
Oh.
Oh, you touched my screen.
I'm sorry, I did, you're right.
So,
Yep, right there.
okay.
And then right under checklist manager, right there.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
This is not our fax.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is not our fax.
Okay. All right, so you'll see that I have several templates already set up, okay? So just kind of ignore those for right now. To set up a new template, and everybody knows what the template is, right? It's, can anybody throw out like the definition and what you would call a template?
Unfilled out forms.
Yeah, has all your standard information filled in so you don't have to worry about it. So all you have to put in is the literal information for that transaction, right? Saves you so much time.
Yeah, preset,
Wonderful.
fill in the blanks.
And then you add in the MLS portion and you're done. It's awesome. So the template, you're only going to come to this screen to set up the template. Moving forward, you're just going to go to the transactions, okay? A lot of people confuse it thinking that you have, when you use your template, you're going to come to this screen. You only create the template in this screen. You don't actually use it from this screen, okay? So let's go ahead and create a new one. And ownership, I think that's just something I have because of the office, so ignore that. And let's just call this your buyer template or purchase template, whatever you want to call it.
Okay,
Residential.
where does this say create? I'm sorry. Add.
The plus
Is that
sign.
over here, add? Over
Yeah,
here?
exactly.
Okay. All right. So we'll call it, what did you say, buyer template?
Yep. Purchase template, whatever you like.
Would you like me to sit between them, Josh, so you don't have to jump it up?
Oh no, it's fine.
Huh?
It's fine. We're all good. Okay. Now, when it comes to the type, you'll see it has all the huge variety there. So you'll just want to go ahead and put in the residential purchase.
Okay.
And description is whatever you really want. You don't even have to technically fill that out if you don't want.
Save.
Yep, and when you're ready, go ahead and hit save. And it'll seem like it pops you up to a very similar screen, but it did change. So right below where we just were, you'll see you have a checklist thing now. Now the checklist is something you could come back and fill out. It could be all of your timelines, for example. So let's say you want a reminder to do the earnest deposit. Okay, so you could actually set this up, hit plus, and then you could add checklist. There's, oh man, hold on, here we go. Let me go ahead and do this here really fast. Okay, choose a checklist, boom. Okay, now my buyer checklist, you'll see has all of my stuff here, right? I went through and I put in all the items in my escrow period and associated with timelines, okay? This takes a little bit of time to think about what you actually want and need reminders of, okay? So if you want later on, or you could call me and we could kind of go through setting this up. But what's really neat is that you could open escrow and it says 2 days after acceptance date. Right? Upload all docs to DB 2 days after acceptance date. You can do before closing, which will be to do the final walkthrough 3 days before closing, and it calculates all of your dates off of whatever you inputted in your transaction. So if you say we're going to close on October 30th, it'll automatically factor in 3 days before October 30th. If you say that you got your offer accepted today, it'll automatically put in all your dates based off of today. It's a really cool little detail that Zipforms didn't quite do all the way through.
What?
You had to go back in and
Yeah,
constantly
yeah,
update it.
yeah.
This lets it formulates all your timelines automatically. Okay? It's a really, really cool feature that's not technically part of the template, but you could add it to your template and it's wonderful. Okay?
So when I went to checklist, it comes up empty, none found, but if I hit the plus, so I created that buyer template.
Okay.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah, go ahead and hit it plus. Oh, it's because we haven't made it yet. That's why. These are the little details. We're in the template right now. The item right above template in the previous screen was checklist, and you would create the checklist there.
So I need to close this and go back.
Would you guys prefer to do that right now instead of going through with the actual template?
Well,
They need to know how to build templates.
Well, I can create this off the critical date list from Zipforms, right?
Precisely. Okay, so we just went into, see right here, transaction templates?
Yeah.
Right there, checklist manager. Okay? And you would literally create your checklist here. Okay? And it'll be applied to whatever you want. So I'll just say seller checklist for right now, just because I already have a buyer. Okay? So save it, and then it'll ask you to put in what items you want. So for example, checklist, let's do a task, okay? And let's say get, task, get spuds from seller, right? Oops, wrong thing, dang it, sorry about that. Okay, get spuds from seller, right? And date due, well, related to transaction date. So let's say after, how long do you want to give your sellers to fill out the seller property disclosure statement? 3 days, 2 days?
I like to have it right away, so 1 day.
Okay, well let's just say 2 days after, and whatever it is that they list date, you know, whatever it might be. And then you could set a reminder 1 day before, and save. Done.
Charlotte, I brought cheese.
Right? And it'll actually apply that to your listing transaction all the way through. And same thing with your buyer transaction. And you'll see how it shows up in the actual transaction. It's really cool.
Okay.
So it's one of those details that if you're willing to take the time to set up, it actually is useful.
Okay.
Very cool. Okay? So if we have time, or next Tuesday, we're going to be doing this class and kind of going further and further every Tuesday till the end of the year, pretty much.
Till the end of the year.
Yeah. So if
changes.
if we don't get to it tonight, we could certainly tackle it next week.
Okay.
All right. So let's go back to the transaction templates, and which one was I just doing?
Buyer template?
Did I fill this one out yet? I don't think so. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So you got your checklist, which you could come back and fill out. Contacts, I haven't worried about that one yet either, because I don't know if you have an admin or somebody that you're going to be using on every single one. I see the point there, but pretty much I'm the only constant in all of my transactions, pretty much. So we're going to go directly to documents and folders. Okay. And then when you hit that, go ahead and hit plus,
Okay.
and we're going to add a document. Okay. Now the document, what did we discuss? What's the difference between a document and a form?
One is breakthrough.
The documents are in their database and the forms are the ones you use.
It's the other way around.
Opposite.
Oh,
Exactly.
Forms are
So
EDRE.
this is where you would pull your brokerage forms. Anything that's actually not an AAR document. Okay? So for us, it would be our pool, our mold, what other things could it be?
I would also add the cover sheet that Charlotte likes.
Yes.
And the commission instructions,
Yeah.
so that they're there, so we can just email them to you and you can sign them and we can get them over to the title company.
I would argue with that. Yeah.
Those are two other of our forms I think should go in.
Yep. Yeah, I know certain ones have general disclosure forms. Other people have their own final walkthrough forms. There's a lot of brokerage sensitive
Specific things.
specific
yeah.
documents. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's literally where you'll just pull these. Okay. So Are everybody clear on that? Do you have like your database that you're going to pull from for those?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so when you got those in, you just simply save and they will be there. Okay, but right now let's go ahead and skip down to forms. And this is where we will actually start doing stuff. Okay, so it's going to ask you which ones you want to pull from. So the majority of our buyer docs are certainly from the AAR. Okay, so which ones? Pretty sure West USA is almost exactly the same as far as what they require. So you're going to have like your buyer's advisory on every one. I pull an addendum. Do you?
Yeah, I usually.
I don't love the addendum because, I don't know. It's easy to add.
Yeah. Okay. Because I almost always I'll have an addendum, and almost always I'm going to have a counter. So I go ahead and pull that into mine.
Okay.
Are you doing buyer or seller right now?
Buyer.
Alrighty.
Okay. Now if you're really on top of it, you're going to use the buyer broker. Now, some of the agents that like we have here, they specialize up north, so they use the well addendum and the septic, on a regular basis. So if that's where your niche is, definitely have those and have those ready. On the flip side, if you're local, you know, in Surprise, for example, an HOA addendum should be provided by the seller now, but it used to be standard because you knew you were going to need it on every single one, right? So a few of these just kind of, what's your niche? You know, do you use certain addendums more often than not? Because my general rule is if you use it more than half the time, put it in and have it filled out.
Okay.
It's easier just to get rid of it if you're not going to use it at that point. How's it going?
It's good.
Was traffic good fun?
Yeah, how was the traffic? Are you freezing?
No, I have a nice heater in my car.
Man.
But traffic was just, that's all right. I've been to Tempe, I've been to Scottsdale, I've been all over the world.
So primarily you build it with your most used form, so where I work, I mean, typically, you know, usually not a lead-based paint is used, so don't put it in your
Okay,
template,
let me see it
only
then.
gonna pull it over it.
When you need it, exactly. So like your true standard would be your buyer broker, your residential purchase contract, your market conditions, your agency,
Right.
and then from there it kind of goes out depending on what you go from there.
Okay.
So let's see. Oh, your Benzer, definitely need that. Let's see, purchase contract, there it is. It's funny how many short sale documents there are. But we're not going to need those anytime soon. Okay. And I don't know, is West USA, have they made the wire fraud thing mandatory?
It's not mandatory, not yet. No.
Yeah, it's not mandatory here either, but I think it's good practice to have just in case. Do you know anybody that's experienced it? Like an actual wire fraud case? Like personally?
Not personally, no.
I've heard about them, but I don't know of anybody.
Got a bank account hacked once, but not wire fraud.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. It's going down the list. I put in the addendum, buyer's advisory, buy broker, put in the counter offer. Yeah, I have the HOA there, but hopefully it's just just in case, because hopefully the sellers are going to have it available. Definitely need your market conditions.
Yeah, I'll do this later.
And then your agency, your Binzer, the purchase contract, And then last but not least, the wire fraud. This time I pulled up 10. I think last time I only had 7.
Probably a couple more this time.
Yeah.
Market condition advisory.
Yeah, every time I do this class, I'm getting more and more thorough apparently.
I learned through repetition.
Yeah.
It gets better.
It's like, when in doubt, grab them all. Let's just take them all, put them in the template.
I am so good at saying hello now, just by doing it over and over.
Who was it that,
Hi, Richard. I'm Charlotte.
Hi Charlotte, how are you? Such a pleasure to meet you.
was it First Man when they were talking about Neil Armstrong when, was it when everybody else was hugging so he learned how to hug too?
I think so. I think.
I gotta do that.
He
Yeah.
has to learn, huh?
Oh, I've become a really good hugger over the years.
And also put your walkthrough, pre-closing walkthrough on that.
Oh yeah. It's one of those, we have like 4 different versions. We have the brokerage version, we have the Zipform MLS version. Yeah, like, as long as you use one, that's all I really care about. Okay, and as soon as you have those, then we can come back and let's start filling them out.
What's the last one you put in?
Wire fraud.
Huh?
The wire fraud advisory,
The walkthrough. Walkthrough.
Oh, okay.
or the walkthrough, yeah.
So, we don't have to name anything at that point, or you just click on it to start filling it out, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you could either officially add, and then in the top right, you'll see you have the basket and then the add. So
Yeah.
when you add, it creates the full list, and then you can just come back in and, for example, just open up any document there.
Okay, I just added it, and now I jump back here, so form, so.
Yeah, so go ahead and open the buyer's advisory. Okay. Now, this is what's weird, because my computer, notice I have the stuff written out, okay? So the home, that's actually transaction forms, okay? So when you want to switch between any forms, just click the home button, and it'll actually drop down with all the forms there. There you go, and so you can just switch between them.
Okay.
All right.
This is in the template I just created.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, and then if you hit close there, right on the file, you probably remember this from Jeff, this save, right there, the disk. So at any moment, if you do want to save it, those are basically the two. Okay? And then, yeah, just scroll over. Perfect. Okay? I don't know why, because Mom's computer, you don't have yours written out either, right? And so it's not a tablet PC thing. I have no idea why. I didn't hit any settings. It just, I don't know. So, yeah. Okay, so the buyer's advisory, we really don't do anything with. So I think the big thing is, if you have yours in the same order, would be the buyer broker.
So come back up to the, well, I've got addendum then on that point. Buyer broker, okay.
Now, here's the interesting part, okay? Now, going off of what Jeff Raskin was talking about, once you get into the transaction and you're pulling information from the MLS over, you're automatically the buyer, okay? You don't have to worry about inputting your information here as far as your name and your brokerage, okay? But that's once you find the property. If you're, let's say, hypothetically, the wonderful agent I would hope you are, you're getting this signed before they have their property picked out. So in this case, you might almost want to have a separate one filled out already for your buyer-broker agreement, unless you're using it after the fact, because it won't have anything filled out. You'll see what we're talking about later in a minute, because when you get to the actual MLS Connect and you've already filled out your agent here, you show up twice in the contract, in the actual transaction, and it's a redundant, annoying thing. that you kind of want to avoid. And that's one of the subtle weird things about this program again.
So have a separate file just for your buyer broker.
Not necessarily.
It just, it's interesting.
Depends on
how
when you're doing
you
it.
do the MLS Connect, you know, it's at that moment that it pulls into your forms all of the agent.
And it
broker
automatically
stuff.
makes you the buyer on everything. If
Yeah.
you're doing the buyer side, you're automatically the buyer. So you don't actually fill in any of your stuff per se here. Okay, and it causes a weird thing. So it depends on when you're doing the buyer broker. If you're a great agent and you're doing it ahead of time, then definitely have it set up as its own template. That way you can fill it all out and it's already good to go. And
Along with the agency.
Yeah, you can do that one too. Absolutely, because those are not going to be property dependent.
Right.
Okay. But if you're like so many other agents and you just get this thing signed when you're doing your offer, pretty much doing the rest of the documents, then you leave it here. And okay, so for the moment, we're pretending that we're just doing the offer at the moment. Okay, so we're gonna leave your firm and the agent blank for right now because it's gonna get pulled in with the rest of the information. Okay, so. We're going to skip right down to 6, right? Now, here's where I cover all my bases because the buyer-broker agreement, I don't care what my clients are buying. I would like to be their go-to source for everything, including referrals for whatever. So I put on there including industrial too. Because, yeah. Okay, now we're going to make this kind of easy. Most people, when it comes to the agency relationship on line 10, they check that. Okay, now basically the only thing you need to be aware of, and it's a kind of interesting debate for a later time, is commissions and payments. Okay, when you're saying that as set forth by a real estate agency disclosure and election form, it's not necessarily saying that you're going to get paid any amount whatsoever on any level. It's just talking about representation. Okay? So do not confuse that for being a guaranteed payment. It's not. Okay? All right. So retainer fee. Most people don't use retainers today. So, I mean, all of this is truly up to you and what you use. I know one lady who was one of our agents that she took was it $250?
I do 200.
There you go. There you go. So
But they get it back at the end. It's just for my expenses up front.
yeah,
And they totally understand that.
yeah. If you're good at getting them to put some skin in the game, your bond and your commitment is a lot stronger than.
Yeah, I don't want them just going like this. I want them going like this.
All right, so here's where the compensation is.
Yeah, you are.
Now, here's where you get to be
Better catch up.
a little creative, okay? A lot of people put in here, the amount of compensation shall be determined by the listing contract. That's not ideal per se. Why is that?
Because it's not legal.
It doesn't
It's
say
negotiable.
Yes.
And so if you don't put 3% typically paid by the seller, and then in your additional remainder to be paid by buyer, you don't get your whole 3%.
That's a good way. That's one definite way of doing it. Exactly. Pretty much, the buyer broker guarantees you're going to get paid some way, shape, or form by somebody. If it's not the sellers, it's going to be the buyers. Plain and simple. Okay? So it doesn't necessarily commit them to everything. It just says, in this case, if they don't do it, you're going to pay the difference.
Right.
And that's why I love that, because back in the fall of the market, we were selling $50,000, $60,000 homes on a short sale. Okay, so you're talking 8 months worth of work for 2.5% commission minus your
On
brokerage split.
$97,000 homes.
$60,000 homes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, well.
They fall
And
through at the last minute.
at that point in time, I was like, okay, I can't make less than $3,000 on any transaction. So I put in my minimum. The amount of compensation shall be no less than $3,000. And then on the next page, that's where you put in the rest of the information, right? This is where you would put anything here. But you just need to know that this isn't saying the seller's going to pay it. This is if the seller's compensation doesn't meet what you put here, the buyers are going to pay for it.
So should we just put the 3% of purchase price number in there? Oh, but we don't know yet because that's a buyer broker agreement. We're going to have to say 3% of purchase price.
If that's your personal thing, this is really person dependent. If you can't make less than $10,000 a transaction, if you're okay making $1,500 a transaction, it's entirely up to you. But this is how you guarantee it's going to happen.
But if I say 1,500, that's all they're going to have to pay me.
I would say not to be less than $1,500 personally, but it's up to you how you word it. I wouldn't get too bogged down into the details specifically. It's up to you what your magic number is. Right now, I would say to be not less than 2% or whatever, just to guarantee, because what's your average sale? What's your average price, area? It's all case dependent, right? If you're selling multi-million-dollar homes in Scottsdale, right now your average commission is about 2%. Okay, on the flip side, if you're selling land in Whitman, I would say I need more like 10% truly if I'm going to make a, so you need to kind of pick and choose your personal thing. My average ticket right now is sale is about $350, $400. I'm not really worried about a minimum compensation anymore because I'll cross that bridge if we ever dip below 100 again. So it's really up to you. But in this case, just to be safe, shall be not less than whatever your minimum amount should be. Okay.
All right, I'll put $1 million.
There you go.
I'm looking.
I don't work with anybody buying less than $30 million properties. I'm sorry. All right, and so the buyer, notice it says buyer, not seller. This is purely if the traditional forms don't work properly, right? And that's where the other agency, these tie in together. So I would typically, it's either 90, 120. What did Fred put in? He put in 160 or something like that. 150?
Yeah.
Okay. The sooner the better though, as far as getting paid. So if you want to put in 90, 60, 30, and in the event the not meet the minimum compensation of $3,000, the difference shall be paid by the buyers. Something like that. And at close of escrow. I'm glad that these aren't really being used in action very much anymore. But it's funny because I'm pretty sure I got started right in 2007-8. So my first listing started off as a traditional transaction and turned into a short sale, and my very first listing.
Of course, on that, to clarify, in the event that the listing commission, it's really an event that the listing commission co-broke fee.
Yep.
Right? Otherwise, you could be nailed on that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's where truly you'll want to narrow down the clause fully when you utilize it. I have it saved on my other one.
I can use a piece of paper.
Yep. Okay. Everybody good on that one?
So what is the current law in reference to charging, and this is outside the scope of this, a transaction fee or some other type of, name it some other type of fee? What is the current statute say in reference to that?
Well, like for example, White Card, I know that their standard transaction fee is $350. I think it is. And I think it's still, last I heard, it's still only VA that aren't allowed to pay it. And so if there's any of those things that have to be paid, at that point it comes out of the agent's commission. But as far as I know, it's
They can call it a transaction fee,
yep. Theirs is a transaction coordination fee.
coordination fee. Okay.
Yeah. There's another one that's a general disclosure fee. It's actually a document, a general disclosure document that goes down several different things, and like the very last item is the transaction fee. We had one of those for a while, but we got rid of it. I really was bottom line truly concerned that we
But
should
as
bring
we
it
see, as we see commission
It totally
compression
makes sense to me,
in
so.
certain areas, 2.5 and 2. I mean, we may need just everybody's again do what they want to do, but to institute some of these other fees, just like open doors do it. Don't call it a commission, just call it something else.
back.
Convenience fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
since they're principals, they can do things that we cannot do in the transaction. So
yeah.
okay,
But that's where they're really, their fees are, man, I wish more people knew that their fees equate to more than 7 to 15%. Like they start off 1% higher than our total fees are. It's freaking silly. But yeah, they, like the assignment fees and stuff like that, that's pretty much, same kind of document. They will, if you're talking about you getting paid on those, it would just literally be here. And so you could either put it here, or if your brokerage has like the general disclosure or one of those fees. But on this one, what did they put? Theirs was a $350 fee paid at closing. They had a good verbiage on there.
But it covered like
Yeah.
everything. It covered your E&O, it covered your,
Yeah, and they required it to be signed up front. My old broker he had a couple of documents, and he was really good at getting those little extra fees. And it was only paid at closing, but as agents we had to get really good at these verbiages and stuff.
Mom brought tamales.
Oh, nice. So anyway, if you're, are you wanting to charge other fees in general, or?
yes, I am.
Okay.
But obviously I know we can only charge for certain things.
Let me.
So I need to get clarification because in the past we couldn't do it. I mean, depending on what you call it as well.
Let me get a
can't
copy.
charge for writing documents, for instance.
Yeah, let me get a copy of his document and I'll send it to you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'll give you my card.
For additional compensation?
Yeah.
But as you say, if it's going to be covering your transaction fee and your E&O fee, that'd be great. Because it all ends up coming out of. Here's my email.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah. He was my old broker. He's a great guy. He's one of my kind of mentors. He was one of the original guys back in the original follow market that he was the home investors, we buy ugly houses people.
Yeah.
And he was one of the only ones that sold his franchise like right at the peak of the market. And then he started his own brokerage right after that. So he's been on the edge of the market perfectly. And he's the man at these things. So, okay. So yeah, you definitely want to guarantee any of your compensation there, and any other random stuff for your buyers to make sure you're protected. And then buyer signature, all that good fun. Now again, it doesn't seem right, but we're going to leave this blank because it'll all get transferred over when you actually use it in the transaction. Okay? So if everybody's good on this, let's go ahead and save it and move on to the next one. Scroll down, save. And buyer broker, market conditions, nothing to sign really there. HOA will be hopefully filled out by the other agent. Your agency disclosure and election, it's a whopping huge one here. What do we want to do? Represent the buyer and show the buyers show the buyer stuff. So just make sure you have your 3 check marks. hoodie's winter wear. I like your flannel, Mom.
You know, it's cool. I don't think it's flannel, but it's heavy enough to give you a little bit of cover.
Yeah. Okay.
This form though, won't transfer over, you're saying, right? On the firm name?
It will, yeah.
It will, so leave that blank too.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything that you're gonna put in either your name or your brokerage,
We'll
just
transfer
leave it
over.
blank. Yep.
And so what, does it just go right on top of each other, or when it comes over if it's duplicate, or does it put it right next to each other? Or?
You'll have a number of buyer's agents. Yeah, you'll be the and you'll see like on everything you're gonna be twice, and it's yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, if you got your 3 check marks, we can go ahead and move on there.
Did you make
Did you like that? No, got them from one of our vendors. Oh, his wife needed.
Okay. And if yours is similar to mine, then pretty much the last thing that we're going to actually look at is the residential purchase contract. Any other documents that you guys saw?
Easy enough to fill out.
Yeah, because the market conditions, your client sign and date, your agency, you just have the 3 check marks. The HOA, the seller's going to fill out, and that's all going to be dependent. So, yeah. All right, now the purchase, this is where you can really get as much as you want. Because, like, for example, I know a couple people that they only do stuff in Maricopa County, so they put Maricopa County there, right? It's up to you if you really want to go there. Earnest money. Do you have a standard spiel that you use for your earnest money, such as deposited to title within 48
Escrow.
hours or something like that, right?
Escrow.
Yep, escrow, sorry. You know, whatever your spiel is. Down payment, cash at close of escrow. Yeah?
I'm sorry, that's not what Jeff said.
It's not,
He
it's
said
all
that
good.
next line should be additional deposit. Because we don't take the whole 20% from them on the down. We take maybe like 1%. Then they have to come up with the other remainder of deposit.
It's not really,
And
no.
then the next line, he says, to be financed with conventional financing.
That's what 13 would be.
Huh?
That's what 13 would be. There's not two,
13.
they typically don't come with 2 different deposits, typically. You have your earnest deposit and
No,
then your
but
down
he
payment.
defined them like additional 18,000 to deposit in escrow
That's,
3 days before
If-
close,
that's
and
two.
then it said remainder to be financed through conventional financing 3 days close. That's just how he taught us.
it's not a teaching you, that's just a spiel per se.
Okay.
That's not a right or wrong way to do it.
I like it when it's not right or wrong.
Yeah.
Don't you, Charlotte?
Yeah, cause like right now, the way I have it here is standard for everybody, right? Almost every single deal I have, unless I'm really trying to expedite it, like, okay, if I want to edge somebody out, I'll say, we'll have the money there tomorrow. You know, cash at close of escrow, that's always standard for a down payment. The only thing here would be financed, and then you could say conventionally, VA loan, FHA loan. The only thing that would change, and this is where it's a cash deal, in which case you just have your earnest money and then your cash at close of escrow. So that's why I kind of leave this blank, because I'll just input financed via FHA loan, you know, whatever it might be. So this is my personal method. I leave it right like this, and then so back in the day, when I was mainly working with like almost all investors, almost everybody I had was not local, right? So at that point in time, everybody had a wire transfer. Almost every single person. I didn't deal with any checks locally. As of this year, almost everybody I'm working with is local. So I've switched it now to personal check, because that's my normal now. And then always escrow company, I don't know of any brokerage that wants you to take the earnest money.
Not a one.
All right, everybody good so far on this one? So hopefully pretty standard. All right, additional clauses, addenda incorporated. So additional clause, may or may not domestic water well, for you guys up in Black Canyon City. For me, HOA is definitely normal. And then,
It's normal.
yep. And then over here we've got market conditions and mold addenda. And then at the end, you know, for the ones that need it, would be pool addenda or whatever it might be. That's funny. I didn't realize his spiel was so long there. I remember hearing him mention it, but yeah, he definitely writes a lot.
So are you putting in the pool addendum there, or you just leave it for you, or is it?
I don't. You would add it there if it's going to
Yeah.
be used, or if that's your normal. Yeah. Market condition and mold is on every single one. Pool, yeah.
Well, I went to the, the commissioners, the NAR ethics lab yesterday,
Yeah.
and she said to CYA, if you're selling a house with a pool in it, see, pool regulations are not straight across Arizona. They are citywide.
That's
So
the
you,
packet.
as a responsible realtor, will get a hold of the city requirements and
Well,
include the.
That's why.
That's the packet.
Yeah, that's why our form has all of the
Has all the
cities.
cities on it?
Yeah, and it doesn't actually have the information for each city
But it gives
specifically, but it
Shows where to get.
Yeah.
breaks it down by the city for them to go where they're supposed to.
Oh, for them to go get it?
Well, it's the
Yeah.
the pool addenda packet is a standard thing. As far as I know,
In our drive.
yeah, swimming pool, hot tub addendum. There we go. Oh, this is for a lease. Rebacks. There you go.
Oh, I see it, so it's in forms.
Yeah, there we go. Residential pool safety notice. Is this the wrong one? Dang it.
No, that's the
No.
right one.
No, this is for the health and safety.
Don't you just
That's the
need the
pool
one
thing.
that we have?
Well, I was
Thank
saying,
you,
I
that's an aha
thought
moment for
we.
me, Judd.
Oh, here we go. Pool. It is Arizona Association of Realtors. There it is. It is a standard document. Okay. Yeah. And when you go,
Okay, cool.
yeah, and then it'll break down. But the actual document itself
Yeah.
breaks it down by the city. See?
Yeah, that's what I meant. She said it was broken down by city.
Yeah, and ours actually here. Let me pull it
Good,
up.
that's good on, it's on AAR.
Yeah.
Mine'll be in.
Pool safety. Yep. Here's ours.
See, I'll just throw that into my document
Yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
click the link for whatever city they're in.
Yep. And then you've
That
got.
would work too.
Yeah, see how starting, we might need to update it, but notice how it breaks it down now by city. So like starting off page 4, Avondale, Buckeye, Carefree,
Yeah, that's
yada 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 yada.
Beautiful.
Yep, exactly.
Aha moment.
Remind me to
Two
check
and
to
a
make
half.
sure we don't need to update it, because I don't
That's
think
very
we've
true.
updated it in the last
Yeah,
couple years.
Very true,
Yeah.
very true.
Okay. All right, so that would be an example of a document, right? That's what we had. Okay, so yeah, for buyers, do you guys try to include the washer, dryer, fridge on almost everything when you're helping a buyer? Do you try?
I didn't hear you. I'm
Depends
sorry.
on the structure. I mean, a lot of them are already gone, so
Yeah.
Washer, dryer, fridge.
if they're there, then yeah, I try to get them.
Yeah.
Or
I'm-
each other.
Almost always. Yeah. So like I have mine checked here because more often than not I try to get them.
Okay.
But it's kind of one of those small details, you know. I always like to ask if people try to push. You know, when you're representing a buyer, I'm representing the buyer. I'm trying to get as much as I can, you know. So. Okay, so yeah, so if you're gonna fill those out, 56, 57, 58, that's up to you. I do. And then types of financing. Now, if you do happen to have, like back in the day, we did concessions on every single thing, right? So that was standard. You know, you put in 3%. I mean, on almost every single offer, right? Now, it's a seller's market. It's getting tougher and tougher to get away with all those things. So right now, I don't have anything.
Except in the case of VA, except in the case of VA.
Yeah, yeah. So right now, I'm just pretty much leaving this blank because it is truly, truly case dependent.
And since VA is down to 3% and conventional's down to 3%, I'm advising my buyers to go conventional because VA is harder with inspections and timelines, and they can use that VA loan later.
Yeah, that's up to the lenders. Appraisal costs, always.
Buyer.
Well, this is where you could go buyer, and then you could ask for it back later. But yeah, when it comes to well, when it comes to appraisals, okay, and you're asking for concessions, let me just ask this, okay? Do you want your client paying for everything up front and then asking for, how do I say this? Okay, for example, if the seller's going to pay for the concessions, do you want the seller to pay for that appraisal up front, or do you just want it all to be credited back at the end?
Who are you representing?
What's that?
Who are you representing?
Well, when you're, okay, let's say you're representing the buyer, okay, and the sellers are going to pay your concessions, okay? When you have man, how do I say this? Okay. It's one of those hassle things when it comes to the details, right? You always want everything just to be taken care of at the end, at closing, in the form of credits when possible, pretty much, right? So, official free, I always say up front, everything's paid for by the buyers, straight across the board, because I don't want to have to worry about the sellers coming back or having to get a hold of the seller to pay for something. I don't want to hold up the process. So I always straight across the board go buyer, 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 and then ask for it back later. Make sense? Okay, so at the time payment is required by a lender and is non-refundable if seller is paying the initial appraisal fee. Okay, so that's where they're not. You just never want the sellers to pay the initial fee. Okay. Have you ever had to wait for sellers to try to pay for crap?
No, I always tell the buyers they got 3 checks to write before and everything will come down in escrow.
Good plan.
They're earnest money, put your money where your mouth is. You're hiring an independent building inspector and termite inspector, and your lender is going to want you to pay for an appraisal.
Good job. That's exactly right.
And then the rest
Perfect.
comes down.
Yep.
When
Okay.
the fat lady sings. Oh.
So appraisal cost buyer, and then you never want to worry about this if the seller's going to pay the initial part below that. So if everything's good there, then let's go ahead and skip to the title.
May we insert our title company in?
Absolutely.
Our preferred title company?
Is it the buyer or the seller?
It's
Who
the buyer.
should pick?
It's the
Absolutely.
buyer. So, you know, but we can't steer them by law ethically. So we could recommend that we use these people because we've had great success with them.
Yeah.
But it's still their choice.
Yeah.
And you gotta tell them that.
Yeah. And I wouldn't, I mean, if to steer somebody in that context, that would take some doing. Most people don't know an escrow officer to begin with,
Right.
right?
But someone might have a sister that does it or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing with the lender. You know, lender, it's more of that, and that's one of the ones that I'm like, here's 2 or 3 great ones. If you know, feel free, keep yours. Talk to your person, but please, please, please talk to these other 2 as well. You know, the lender is one of the huge ones. Escrow, it's more of, are you going to let the sellers push you around? And absolutely freaking not. It is definitely the buyer's choice. No matter how the sellers are open door, that's the exception to the rule. And if your flippers or new builds, that's the exception to the rule because they really, they really do their thing. Yeah.
Right, and here's a really good recommendation too. When some, Caldwell Bankers, Keller Williams, they say, we prefer, escrow's already started here with so-and-so. Your buyers will get great discounts. I call them up and I say, what kind of discounts will my buyer receive by using your title company? Then I go to my title company and I tell them, well, this is what they're gonna give my buyer. Will you give them the same?
Yeah.
They say yes. So I do transport the same value to my client
Yeah.
from the seller to their control.
Yeah.
But I get the discount.
Yeah. Ultimately, as long as you're negotiating, you're doing the good job. Make sure that they're not overpaying. When it comes to the new builds and when it comes to like Open Door, OfferPad, and their partnerships, it's really sucky the way they make it so not worthwhile to use your people, and it's really not fair. You know, it's like, sure, go for it, but we're gonna make you pay for both. It's like, what? It's not even, you're gonna pay for yours and that's it. It's like, no, we're gonna still use our company. You're gonna end up paying for two title companies. And it's like, that's BS. You know, so pick and choose your battles. I flat out disagree with that practice. I don't think it's fair, it's right. They do give you the option, but they make it so not make sense to go the other way. You know, same thing with new builds and their freaking lenders. You know, good luck trying to use your lender. You're gonna end up paying so much more, and it's not worthwhile.
We'll use all those incentives.
Yeah. So, yep. So definitely though, long story short, what are we doing here? Putting in hours. Absolutely. Okay.
It's a little hard.
Still good.
So, Mark, do you have a go-to escrow company you're putting in?
I do, but I will never let a deal crash because of a title company. You know,
No.
if I look at it as multiple, I'm going to make it as easy for that seller's agent to accept the deal. You know, if I have some leeway, then yeah, I want them to use my people. Sometimes I'll just ask, you know, do we really need to use it? You know,
Yeah.
majority of the time they go, no, you can use whoever you want.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's why
But-
here, yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It's to me. I've lost deals in the past because if I'm pushing too much on things, the client
Yeah.
really doesn't care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Then it's about me, or it's about the other listing agent. So that's just.
Yep.
I want to do the deal.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
All things being equal, in 90% of your offers, you're going to be able to go with the one you want to go with, and that's why I put it here. But my last one, literally, I had to sweet talk that agent, and we beat out 7 other offers. Best believe we were using their title company. Yeah.
What can we do to make this easy?
Exactly.
For you? Tell me how you want it written.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep, but at that point in time, though, I also did know who they were using, and I actually knew that escrow officer. So at that point in time, it was like, okay, yeah, at least I know it's not one of my 2 or 3 that I really don't like to use.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. All right, so definitely putting your company there. Now, lead-based paint, same thing. Are you going to require the sellers to offer and do something, or are you going to basically try to streamline and make it easy?
Dude, streamline, make it easy.
Yep. So you definitely want to do 173, not 175. 173 says it was provided prior. If lead-based paint is an issue for you, that's unique. I can't think of anybody it's really an issue for anymore at this point.
you're checking it even though that if it was, I mean, I don't know if you do primarily in 1977 and earlier, but are you checking a box if it's 1978 and newer?
Well, line 173, you have to check one of these two, okay? But it only applies if it is lead-based, if it is before or after 1978,
Right.
okay? Now, here's the thing. Even if the home was built, let's say you're working in the Biltmore, you know, right there off Camelback, everything's built in the 50s, right? 50s and 60s. What's the likelihood that is the same seller that had it since 1962?
Rare.
They're not going to have the information you want anyway. Chances are these people bought it within the last 10 years themselves. And so if you actually read 175, sellers shall provide lead-based paint information within 5 days after contract acceptance. Buyer may blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you're literally going to make them do stuff? Or what does 173 say? It was provided prior to the contract acceptance, and buyer's gonna do whatever they wanna do.
No, what I'm saying is, let's say it was a 1990s build.
Yeah.
What are you checking?
Well, 173 stays checked no matter what. You just initial 182.
Right, so that's a difference in policy on, with our company. We don't have to, if it doesn't apply,
Really?
it doesn't apply. Yeah.
Interesting.
Now we would need the signature on, or initials either on 181 or 82,
Interesting.
but if it was built after 1978, you do not have to check it.
We've always
I believe that.
Prudential and this is, there's so many different interpretations. It's just, here's the one box, and I always leave it checked no matter what, and they will initial 181 or 182 because that's mandatory. So literally we do the exact same thing. I just always leave 173 checked no matter what. That's interesting. Yeah.
No, but anyway, I mean that's,
Yeah.
I'm learning about TransactionDesk, not about.
Yeah, well, 181 and 182, that's, yeah, as long as you're not forgetting to initial one of those either way, that's the big thing, is acknowledging if it was built prior or not.
Okay,
Yeah.
on that, before and after 1978, the only thing that I wanted to note is when you put in an e-sign, it will put initials on both of them, and you have to
Undo
be
one of
careful
them.
and go back and
Yep.
edit one of those out.
Exactly.
So it will
Yep.
populate every blank,
Yeah,
so you have to just take that one
and
out.
that'll be hopefully one of the only things you have to do, if all goes well.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so, check whichever ones you want, make sure that your clients do sign it eventually, and I think we're good there, so then let's just scroll right on down to 6F. And I think for the most part, most people are dealing with sewer systems, unless you're up north or dealing with acres or land, in which case you might be dealing with conventional septic systems.
So let me ask you, so this is a template, the template comes up in the transaction, can you then edit at that point to, if you need to go septic system?
Yeah.
Or make any changes, you don't have to go back to the template?
Nope.
Right, you just. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, you can edit all this from your literal transaction. The whole point is, if you're going to use the same things on more than half of your transactions, have it already in it.
Got it.
Exactly. Yep. Better to change those couple things after when you need to.
Okay.
100%. Yep. Okay. So yeah, if that's the case, if you're doing mainly sewer, boom, check that one, and we're almost done. All right, home warranty. This is up to you again, the agent, right? I am a huge advocate for home warranties, and so I always pay ordered by the buyer. I check ordered by the buyer, and then I always put generically seller, because that's what I try for, and I'll switch it if I need to. Okay?
Right, it's also a negotiation.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
negotiation.
And then I always have my company there. All right.
What is it?
Old Republic.
Old Republic?
Yeah. And then the money amount always varies because it's either the Platinum Plus or the Platinum Plus Pool. One of the two.
Right,
So-
so it says, doesn't it say where we can put in AC, pool, and appliances on there?
No, that's all extra. You could not to exceed amount. It
says
following optional coverage.
That's what I mean.
But here's where don't get too bogged down. The sellers don't care about what detailed coverage. They care about the money. It's all about the money. How much are you going to spend? Okay, so you could feel free to input 294 to whatever extent you want, but ultimately you don't have to. It all boils down to 725, 800. That's all they care about. You guys are gonna order it, and that's when it's gonna be set in stone of whatever it will be officially. This is just telling the sellers, we're not going to go above this amount, and even if we do, you're only going to be on the hook for that amount. That's all they care about. Okay? So, yeah. So, go ahead and, what if you have a go-to company, and if you have your go-to method, boom. And, yeah, I love that you input everything. It's great. As a broker, I love every spot filled in. It's beautiful. So, okay. So, everybody good on that one? You're inputting what you have or what you want to do. And then here on 8A, if you have any additional clauses that are standard, go ahead and put them in. The only thing I would say is if you don't, put in the word none. in A, just never leave it blank. You never want somebody to be able to come in after the fact and
Afterwards,
write
right.
something in.
Now, like, in this area, if I were to sell something in Sun City, that's where I would put in their community stuff, because
What do you
that's
mean?
above and beyond the homeowners.
What do you mean, the community
When you
addendum?
buy, yeah, when you buy in Sun City, you have to become a member of their recreation center.
That's a community addendum. That's a separate addendum in and of itself.
Well, I'm asking you, it's like $4,200 a year. That's gonna come in extra closing costs if you buy in Sun City. Where the heck do we identify that?
That's its own addendum. There's
That wouldn't be
literally
an additional terms and conditions?
no. There's a community addenda specifically for that.
Okay,
Yeah, if you're
'Cause
dealing
we
with
still
active
want-
adult communities, you're gonna want there's a specific addendum for that.
And the
there's
HOA.
well, what do you mean? There's a form for
Yeah,
it? Or I have to
Yeah.
get it-
Sun City themselves actually have the addenda. Hold on a second, I can pull that one up too.
Yes. Is that in the forms?
Have you ever seen it, Charlotte?
We have it. I
Have you
think
ever
I
seen-
probably have it
Seen what?
saved in.
I'm not
The
paying
community addenda?
attention.
for
Yes,
Sun City?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I
uh-huh,
probably have. We have it saved in.
It's probably in our drive.
Yeah, but
Because they vary too, from Sun City West. And Sun
yeah,
City
here you go.
North.
The community addendum. And so basically, agree to pay the premises. It's all catered to your active adult communities. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure, like Sun City themselves, they let me see if they've.
I think they have their own forms.
Yeah, because here you got my home group's version.
'cause usually there's three. You've got, the division itself that has its own HOA, and then you have the recreation where that's like almost $500 a year, and then you have the
One-time
Sun
community
City one-time
enhancement.
community
Yeah.
improvement, which is the big one.
Yeah.
And if you move within Sun City,
Yeah,
you don't
then
have to pay it.
Right, right.
Yep. So I guess they do have their generic ones, but I guess every brokerage just has their version of it. Yeah. Yeah. So ours, you can see, has
The same as the others.
yeah, pretty much it's all the same.
There's no LSR in here.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be another example of not form the other one. Okay, so yeah, so under additional terms and conditions, as I'm pretty sure most brokers say, you're just because you can write legalese doesn't mean you should. So try to write less. Less is more in most cases. Okay, so beyond that, is there anything else other than boom coming down here? And obviously, in the buyer offer, we're going to be representing the buyer more often than not. Okay. Now, forgive me for not remembering this. We do go ahead and put in our codes and our license number, right?
Yes,
We just don't do the rest of it.
correct.
That doesn't transfer over?
Or we,
For some reason, I was thinking it did transfer over,
Should
but
all
maybe I'm
transfer.
wrong.
I just did one, hang on a minute. I just did one, I'll tell you if it came over. How's that?
okay, yeah. Because we're going to do it here like right now too, so.
For the open house, purchase contract, hold on. For the open house, I prepared to buy, prepared it.
So I think I made it redundant that last time. So I think we just need to check that box and that's it. I'm almost positive.
Just the buyer box?
Yeah, I'm almost positive that the other
Cause
transfers over.
this is, on this one, I imported from MLS.
Yeah.
So let me go back and check.
Well, they should. Yeah, that's what we're referring
It
to.
generated me.
Perfect. Okay.
It generated me.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping.
Even with your license number?
All right.
Yes, but you know, let's see what I got here.
Okay.
Hang on, let me get to the back page. Because I know that I had to change me and Michelle, because she's the primary lister.
Yeah. Okay.
So Michelle came in, and then I came. No, I had to get Michelle's license number from her.
Well, yeah, because you're in yours, not hers. So it wouldn't
Oh,
know
if
hers.
she had
Yeah.
imported it, it would have
It would
properly
have known
done
her, but not you.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yes, it does import that stuff for you.
Perfect. Okay, great. So we're almost, we're gonna hopefully finish this right on time. So
Okay.
go ahead and check the box for buyer. Go ahead and save. And hopefully we're good. If all goes well. Under transaction forms, I don't think there's any other forms we needed to hit, right? I think we tackled them all. And if that's the case, then let's go ahead and click on the little speedometer on the left, and let's take us to the home screen.
I'm creating my leasing template.
Oh,
So
sweet.
I'm working on. Would you recommend under the leasing, so when you do like PM agreement, maybe that should be its own template, or is it okay under leasing that you
I would
have
do the
that
PM
as well as?
I do the PM agreement separately because, well, it depends, because your owner is going to have the listing and the other thing. So I would have the PM agreement with the property listing information, like the rental listing, because the tenants are going to have the other side, like the lease.
True, true. But when you create your transaction, that's when you just pull the forms over that you need. Okay, I hear what you, all right, I'm gonna play with it.
Yeah, because you could either have it all under the owner, because it's all going to tie in with the lease in general, and you could have it under one complete package, or you could have like the tenant side and then the owner's side, because they might be done at two separate times. Who knows? Yeah, you can see which way you like more. Okay, so if we're good, is everybody at the home screen? All right, let's go ahead and create a transaction. And let's practice purchase, or whatever you want to call it. And then your template, you should have below that, should be saved if all went well. Good? All right. Now, under import data, this is the one way of the two that you can borrow from the MLS and do an MLS Connect. Okay? So right here, let's go ahead and let's grab an MLS transaction here. Let's go active and, oops, I'm in multiple lines. Let's go, it's the most expensive listing. There we go. Most expensive listing in the MLS right now. Boom! Alright, so let's use 592-2983.
Okay, so for some reason when I click on this, on select source, then it's bringing up...
Which one you want to use? Exactly.
So, well, look what happens here. So select source, I hit this, and then it jumps over this.
Go ahead and go to the left there. I don't know why it's trying to pull from the top again.
Cool.
Go click off of that. Yeah. Okay, now go ahead and instead of clicking on the arrow, yeah, click right there and see if it does the same thing. Whoa, that's weird. It's pulling from that top menu. Can you click it really fast and click the armless as soon as it pops up?
Oh, wow, that's weird. Okay.
That's weird, yeah.
Okay. All right, and MLS is...
Let's do 592-2983. $29.83. All right. Now add me as the buyer's agent. That's where it adds you, and that's what we were talking about. It borrows everything and puts you at that spot.
Okay.
Okay. And then if you check the box, use wizard, it turns it into that quick five-step process that makes it really easy. So I would suggest keeping it checked.
Okay.
All right, let's create. Boom. And if all went well, this is what popped up.
Street number.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and scroll down, and this is towards the bottom, you'll see where it says listing information and purchase information. This is where you're going to input the details of the offer, and it's also what inputs the details of what's going to branch out as far as the critical dates and the checklist and all that stuff. This is where it gets all of that information.
It sets
Okay.
your time clock, right?
Yep, exactly. So it's listed for 32 million. I think we should offer 15.
Sounds like
I don't know, that just seems, pretty good.
And then, so whatever you think a fair deposit is on a $32 million property. Oh man. Let's see. 14,400,000. Is that right? No zeros. And then we're going to finance $500,000. There we go. My additional $14.4 million deposit.
What, I saw a thing today that said the most expensive piece of property sold in Arizona for 19 million something
That
something.
was 19,250,000. It's Robert Sarver's, owner of the Suns.
Okay,
so,
yep,
yeah.
yep, it's like, has to be somebody in sports.
Isn't it interesting how in Arizona that is the most expensive, whereas, so many other places it doesn't even creep up to like high end at all. Yet if you go to like Nebraska, that would get you the biggest estate imaginable.
Yeah. But they don't have a lot of other things going on.
Okay, so if we got our money in there, go ahead and just hit next. And that's all you really put in at that moment. Now, under the step 2, this is where you got your dates, okay? So we have our acceptance date, for example. That would be the date that it would start, right? So like, let's say it got accepted today, you would put it in today, right? Your closing date, that's obviously your close of escrow. So we would just put in whatever date that is. But your acceptance date, that's what starts all those timelines, right? So if you actually want to use the 10-day inspection period and use that timeline, it's imperative you give it the acceptance date because it wouldn't know where to begin. All right? Make sense? Okay. So, yep. As long as you have those 2 dates in there, you should be good to go for the most part. Okay? So then if we move on to step 3. Now you'll see why we didn't input ourselves, because you should only be there one time now. Your brokerage is there once, you should be there once, and then you have all the listing agent stuff there. Did it work properly?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So if that's all perfect, then we go to step 4. And step 4 would be the forms. Okay. And just go down to make sure. So like, for example, buyer's advisory, addendum 1 we're not using yet, counteroffer we're not using yet. So if you want, go down to the buyer broker. And you'll see that we haven't put a tenant in there, or a buyer yet. So let's go ahead and put in a name. So if you want to use a practice name, a demo name, whatever you like.
John Smith.
John Smith. All right. And then,
Agent John Smith.
if you want, then let's just put in our dates for our buyer broker agreement.
Now, once you do that, do you have to save it though? Once you
Nope.
put a name? No, okay.
It should, when you go back, it should save. If you're really worried, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and save it periodically.
Okay.
But no, it should be
I'd
taken
say-
care of. Yeah.
And how do you get back to the list?
That house right in the middle, transaction forms.
Okay.
Takes you right back there. Yep. Okay, so once you finish the, oops, let me go ahead and close this one out really quick. So just put in your dates, and then now it's up to you. When we come down to the back one, if you do want a date or anything there, you don't need to, right? So as long as you put in your dates up front, this one's good to go. Okay, so now if you go to the market conditions, you'll see that your person that you named in the other addendum, it's there, so you're good. So
So you say the dates don't matter?
um,
Like it says, I saw your name.
the buyer broker, the dates up top, just make sure that those are there, but any of the dates for signatures and stuff, don't worry about, because it'll automatically take care of them.
Oh, well.
Yep, when you do the e-sign. Yeah. Okay, so market conditions should be filled out for you. An agency should be filled out. Basically, if all went well, we'll just go down to the residential purchase contract. And there's just going to be a couple things we need to fill out there. Now, this is what was really silly, and we haven't figured out why. Remember that the amount financed, that part didn't come in properly. I don't know why. My down payment, my purchase price, that all was there, but I don't know why the amount financed. I don't know if it's, don't ask me. So
It
that,
doesn't do the math.
yeah, so that should be the only thing you really need to fill out right there is your down payment and the amount financed. Oh, I did that backwards. I was going to put 14 million down and then only finance 5. 14,400,000 and then financing $500,000. There we go. Okay. So there's an example of that. Okay. So was that the same way yours was?
That's
Yeah.
still wrong.
Yeah,
got
it wasn't $1
19
million
million up
or
there.
anything.
You gotta change the financed.
Is
Oops,
financing
500,000.
5,000?
I'm not worried about the math here. I'm not. If it was an actual purchase, I would really be worried about it. But yeah, just make sure how you're inputting it is really what I want to convey. That's the weird thing. Even though we inputted it in the input form up front, I don't know why it doesn't transfer. So it might be a good question for them. But everything else basically should. So you should have your close of escrow date filled out. Okay. Now, going down, whatever your type of financing was, if you didn't check that box, make sure you do check that. If you scroll down, hopefully your title company is all in there properly. And then your lead-based paint, if you check that box, whichever one. I mean, basically going straight down, the only thing you should have to put in is okay, my terms of acceptance. Did I miss that up front, or is that just what we needed to input there?
We didn't put anything up front.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty sure this is the only thing that you needed to put in. And then everything else is there. So notice your last page should be filled out with your brokerage and everything.
Yeah, and next week we'll learn how to do contacts.
All right. So,
Right.
yep, hold on. So, okay. So if we're good there, let's go ahead and save it. All right. And going to take about 5 more minutes just to finish here. Okay. So if we're good there,
Now they gave me 2 options to save or save as a PDF.
nope, don't bother saving it as PDF.
Right.
Because you have a Dropbox.
All right.
Unplug me, honey.
Okay. So if we are set there,
Oops,
if you go ahead and click Okay, if you want, let me go back really fast. Go to transaction forms and just verify that all your forms are there, okay? Hopefully they are. If they're filled out the way you want them to be filled out, then right in the top right, you see the sign button? It'll say create a signing session with this form. Go ahead and hit yes. Okay. Now, it's so streamlined. This is one of the biggest things that I love about it, okay? So, sign in line, don't worry about that. Okay, first come, first serve. Nothing in our industry really needs to be signed in order. That you don't want to wait 4 days when you don't need to, you know what I mean? So just sign, first come, first serve. That's all you need to worry about, okay? Now, advanced options, you really don't need. I would skip over those, okay? If you really want to get into it, worry about that later. All right. Now, participants. Okay. So you have your buyer broker. So you're going to sign. So you're going to be a remote signer. Okay. Now our client John Smith. Right. Now John Smith does not have we haven't inputted an email address yet. Okay. So don't worry about that. It's going to make us do that here in a second. Okay. So as soon as we add, you see buyer John Smith. Right? Everything's good. Should be.
Wait a minute, now I'm back a step. See what you're,
Okay.
so from here, now we're.
Perfect. Go ahead. Don't worry about the advanced options. So go ahead and minus that. Yeah, skip over those. Perfect. Now participants.
Okay, alright. And then hit over here.
Yep. Either one. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So you'll see that you and everybody's there. Okay.
So John Smith. Okay.
Yep. So you and your remote signer. Perfect. And then, well, that's your client. And then go ahead and pick you. Okay. And now it's going to automatically want you to be a reviewer,
Okay.
which in this case you have your buyer broker agreement, so you're going to actually sign. If it was just a generic addendum, that's just for you to review.
So do a remote signer.
Yep. Okay.
When do you
And
use an in-person signer?
that's literally in person. It'll
Just
just,
a like wet signature or?
it can be, I think. Yeah. I honestly, I haven't done that one yet. Everything's been remote signing because it just takes you right to it. So
Okay.
I haven't gone that far.
Okay.
So if those two are good, go ahead and hit add.
So out of curiosity, if you have records that are greater than 10 years old and you have like an old MLS,
Pull it up.
it won't pull it
No,
up.
they don't have it backed up.
You
far.
might be able to copy it, but you're gonna have to do a lot with it, too. If you can, wait a minute or two, because I'd like to look at that to see.
I'm sure the information is still worth having though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you'll see under participants, now your name should be good, but you'll see a red hand over the other one. Okay, it says that it's missing required information, so go ahead and hit OK. And then your client will pop up, and you'll see that it's just going to ask you to put in an email address for that person. Okay, so for the sake of tonight, just put in a fake email address, or put in your email address so you can see what your clients will see. Okay, and then hit save. Oh, it may ask you to put in their initials too. Okay, so let me know when you're good there.
Where is it asking? Oh, initials down here, okay, check.
Okay. Okay. Now, this would be so convenient when you actually are representing like a husband and wife and both sides. This would be so convenient, having it all right there. Yeah. So if the people are good, let's go ahead and move on to the documents. And you'll notice that it brought in the one document we had open, but now let's just add the other ones. Okay? So, boop, add. Now notice that under add documents, our actual transaction is the first thing there. Okay, so just bring in whichever ones you want. So the buyer broker, market conditions, real estate agency,
advisory.
And didn't I already pull the residential purchase contract? Wasn't it the one we were on? Pretty sure. Yep. Okay, so for the sake of tonight, I'm just going to do the four main guys. Are we good? Perfect. And then last but not least, when you go to the design, it'll pull it all up.
Yeah, Josh, one of my offers was to open house, and when you import it from MLS, there are so many open house
There are addendums.
names without email addresses that you're sitting there for 5 minutes getting
Screw
rid
them
of
up.
them.
Yeah. Okay, so if you got to number 4, the design portion, you just scroll down and hopefully it'll be just like Marilyn said. So you'll see all the boxes are checked. You have the initial down there for, in our case, John Smith. John Smith, ready to go. Everything checked, everything checked. Your title company is there, buyer. And as you scroll down,
Just
you will...
delete one of those.
Exactly.
So 181, so, okay, so you just check on it if you want it to delete it, or check
Yep.
on it to...
Oh, you can put them in and everything.
Yeah, when you just generically click it, you'll see that the little thing pops up underneath it, and you just click the trash can, whichever one is the wrong one.
Okay.
And I think I did the backwards one. But anyway.
And Josh, can you just do something funny and drag and drop something over there so you can see that, so he can see that on documents he can put signatures in?
Yep. So, for example, like when you come over here and you have your other one, so drag and drop, when you click it, you see sign here, sign optional. So you'll notice like mandatory, optional, all the different groups. Your text. So your text box, you just basically write in whatever you want, and you can move it around and put in stuff. It's really unique, everything you can do here.
It is.
So, yeah.
But
Anyway.
what I'm trying to say, Mark, is when you get to your document parts, those are forms, they're already known.
Yeah.
But your documents aren't, but at this little place,
You can add it.
you can put signature lines in, dates, all that kind of stuff, so that it looks like a form.
Yeah. Your
And you can
markups.
still do that under template, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's always gonna come up with the same.
Yeah, your template, whatever you put in your template is what's going to get dragged out to everything. Any of these, this is, did you use the e-sign from NAR prior, like the AAR e-sign?
Yeah.
Okay. This is so much more user-friendly. How many times did your clients miss a signature or an initial and they're like, I don't know what I missed, and you're trying to go through. This will not let them miss anything, and it is so much more user-friendly on the signer side. And you'll see, like, right here, this is all our menu. It's so much easier to use. And so, like, if you need to just drag, drop anything, you can. It makes it so convenient. But, so okay, so it's already filled out. So if everything's good, you can kind of see there. And, I mean, it's already basically filled out, right? Is yours good? Okay. So you can see, so let's go ahead and go next. All right. And then it says blah, 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 blah. You can customize the invitation if you want.
Then it says blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
To change the email address. Yeah, you've successfully completed the creation. So if you want to customize it, you can. And this is where you actually get to send your email. So, and notice how both people pop up automatically. So you can type 2 different messages to the 2 different people, and they're automatically good to go, right? But you don't even have to if you don't want to. You can just send out the generic email that it has.
In this case,
Right?
I go, please, Mr. Seller, give it to us for half price. And in this case, I'd say, oh, buyer baby, keep your fingers crossed.
Yep.
So like on the On the other system where, let's say it's husband and wife, but they're only using one email address, do you have any conflicts with this? Or will it come in as 2 emails?
Exactly.
It will?
Yep,
Okay.
with their separate names on it.
Okay.
Exactly. So this is where you could say, Jennifer, you could put in 2 different subjects. So you could say Jennifer signing session, and then here under the husband, you could put in, John signing session.
Okay.
You could label them. But yeah, it's not, you won't have the same issues that, we had so many things prior. Yeah. Okay. And then send invitations. Now, just like normal, like the other version, it automatically prompts you through here to the end screen. Now notice that there's a lightning bolt there for right now. So if you go to your email, you'll see that they're already there. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, it should be.
Yeah, it's there.
There we go. Perfect. Okay, so see how I wrote in the 2 different messages?
Email, okay.
So John signing practice, Jennifer signing practice,
Okay.
right? And not sure which one was mine, but it's good to go ahead and click on it. So when you pull up the email, you see the big pen.
Yeah.
You just click right on the pen. Click here to sign.
Okay, so I don't have to create it.
It just really simplifies things, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back out.
Oh.
I was looking at my email on my phone.
Sorry.
Good one.
Okay,
So
now actually, now this is interesting. It came up, well, maybe because it sent twice. Let's see.
well,
Okay.
one's going to be you, the agent, and one's probably going to be you, the buyer, in this case.
Came to my same email. Okay, so
Yeah.
just click on the pen, and then preparing 32-page document. Inside the box. Okay.
But here's what's
Must
so
be
cool
an
about
important
it
document.
compared to the other e-sign, the AAR one.
Yeah.
Like you can see, it's preparing 19 blocks. Okay, so if you like it,
Select. Is that right? Select.
if you like it, cool. Yeah, you can just accept
Oh,
it.
down there. Let's see. Accept.
Now here's where there's never going to be anything. Progress 0%. Right. So when you hit start, you can see the arrow, and it tells you to click right on it.
Hit the pepper
And it'll
arrow.
keep track as you click on it.
It was hot. I liked
Actually,
it.
More than
Where'd
hot.
you get them?
There you go. See, look at that. 2, 3,
The
Cool guy.
4, 5, and it keeps track.
His wife
Isn't that great?
brought some
Okay.
over today.
Gosh, their eggs and
So
how.
yeah, there's no going back figuring out which one you missed. Okay.
Where's
Yep.
the sign up sheet for the 18th? Do you have it here?
Yes.
Yeah, so click on it.
We're gonna go
For the
on it.
18th?
The baby's home alone and I've done this stuff already.
Just like always, though, they're not very good at helping people read the
Are we doing
contract.
this again Thursday?
It's great to take them
Or
through
just
signing
every
it.
Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
Now, complete
Are you
signing.
talking about for ringing the bells?
Now it came up with password and confirm password.
And that's optional.
That is. Oh,
Already buying
no
stuff
thanks.
to do it. And I want to bring it to Thanksgiving.
So what about the dates in there?
Any of those 17.
It automatically put them in for you.
No, it didn't. Back it up a page. I saw all the pages. I just saw it on the last page, but I didn't see it on the other ones.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
On the initials, it's it's there. Oops. Here we go. So boom, boom. Message. Signing action. Action has taken place. Jennifer. Let's do hers really quick, and then we'll show you the signed version.
And then I noticed somewhere you had Breakthrough Realty, no, Breakthrough Real Estate, and I don't know if it said Property Management AZ. Is
Know them.
that what it said?
The actual base, our main website is breakthroughrealestateaz.com.
So you don't have to say Property Management.
Are you talking about the?
I don't know, I'm just a realtor, what do I use? I'm not gonna do property management.
Well, one's our website and one's our name. They're two different things.
Okay, so what do you put on the contract?
That's our name, which is Breakthrough Real Estate and Property Management. Okay, so
And that other one is a website.
exactly.
Over that one, okay.
Yeah, websites are websites. Okay, so when it's finished, you'll see that signing document delivery and like a signature process, blah blah blah. So you can open it, view it, whatever you want to do. It makes it just really convenient. And when you come back to the, geez, stop scrolling up there. Okay, so when this is finished, it goes from the lightning bolt to the little metal.
Yay!
Okay, so that's how you know you're done. Previously it was a lightning bolt, now it's a metal. And then when you go into the actual signing, it'll have a little checkered flag next to the people who have signed their stuff. So you can see who has or hasn't signed their documents as well.
Yeah, so you
Can you
can
come take a
follow.
look at this? It
Yeah.
says, I hit it twice, it says signatures initially. What do I do from here?
Oh, just close out of that one. That's not the, which one did you click to open that one?
This here.
Okay, is this one you already signed?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the,
Just go back.
yeah. Okay, so there you go.
Here.
Now, did you actually put in a second signer?
I used my same email.
Okay.
That was John Smith. I think it was just the one, besides myself.
Okay, there should be two, because a buyer and you, the
So-
agent. Did you put in your email for both? Go ahead and go back really quick, because there might have been two signing emails. And,
There's two up here.
oh, there we go. Okay, so let's do your second one, whichever one we didn't do first. So is it this one?
Maybe it was this one.
Yeah, let's try that. There we go.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't be doing both.
Okay. No. John Smith. Accept. Got it.
Go ahead and click.
Oh, start.
Yeah.
That's right.
Takes you right to it. Oh, so you actually had the buyer two. Okay, so you did two buyers.
Yeah, looks like it did.
Okay. So look how it automatically puts in that date. That's great. It's just that little extra time and see.
Yeah, it didn't ask me for my signature though.
Do you have the buyer broker in here? Because you might not have even put it in.
Just sneezed.
My pen is
With the document.
I saw already smack
I
in
don't
the
recall
back.
seeing it. Maybe I did. Yeah. So I have your check
Then
mark.
clean your screen afterward.
Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead and go back to your email. And it should hopefully.
Just saying, if you ever need it.
There we go. Yeah, so that means both of them have been signed, and within about a second, you should get an actual email saying that it was finished.
And that's where I can
Marilyn, do you do houses?
Huh?
Do you do houses?
There you go.
Ha ha, you're funny. No, this is penance. Yeah, I didn't get the money
Click
when
there.
I'm meeting.
And
I
then
feel
if you
really
go back
bad.
to TransactionDesk,
I'm a Catholic, I can't.
and
Sometimes it's my fault. But
go ahead
Apologize in
and,
several ways. You do Windows? No.
okay.
Let's
So,
try
but
to
this
make
menu,
it
this
go
here
down.
is your main menu, right, as a whole. This is the menu for right-hand side,
Yeah, I
when this
should've just
menu's
done
up,
it
this is
here.
in the transaction, so click dashboard there.
Alright, but this one,
Yeah.
Well, I've been
what house is it?
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, but this is good enough. What I'm doing now.
Oh, you don't have to work on it. There we go. You got your metal. So that means it's done. This is where getting used to this right menu is still
Okay. But I'm always gonna have on here, this is basically the dashboard, right?
Yep.
Menu over here.
So I
Okay.
started.
Yeah, and when you're in a transaction, this will be how you go inside it. Yep.
So I started out just by setting up.
Perfect.
Set up the garage and then driveway.
All right.
And I decided, well,
Right.
let's go ahead and start.
So hopefully it was somewhat useful.